the Desert Tiger Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Brother.
I am great. Doing fantastic. How have you been?
Good, man. Great to see you. Congrats on all the success on the podcast. It's really been fun watching it become, this kind of like entity. And every now and then I'll be like on the internet and I see one of my musician peers and they're like on your podcast and stuff. So it's really cool, man. Yeah, it's very cool.
No, it's, growing exponentially these last couple months, which is dope. And I see that you've been doing pretty much the exact same thing, just in a different way with lyric vids with Heavy Ox, just continuing to build your various enterprises, the things that you have your hands in, my friend.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Awesome. I love seeing it too. It's you guys look like you're mad busy. I mean, it got you a lovely fireplace by the looks of things. So
It did.
Congrats on that, my friend. That's been kind of hype to watch too.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Spent a long time in a very, very tiny apartment, kind of just like put in the work. And then we made the plunge last year, obviously, to buy this property. And it's been kind of like an exciting and overwhelming adventure, but so far so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's so many things that you don't think about. And I mean, as someone who's in a small apartment, it inspires me to continue my grind to get on that level for sure. But it is just seeing you like, oh man, like the bathtub doesn't fit through the doorway. There's not good enough internet out in this area. Just like all these things that you've had to solve while continuing to run this successful business. And you've just been able to just keep it all afloat, which is incredible.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been, I'm going to go close the door. It's been quite an adventure, but today we're now in the home stretch on the house side of things. So.
Ooh, nice. Glad to hear that.
Close the door so I can make sure the sound is nice and good.
Love it. And I mean, we're connecting today to share a little bit of that illy love, as always, here with round 3 with the boy. So I'm pretty hype about that, diving behind some new music, your first track since November 2020, my friend.
Yeah. It's been, what's crazy is that I've had to slow down releasing music, obviously, because of what's happening in the world. And, you kind of like, everybody kind of slowed down a little bit. You're not able to do the videos like you want to do. You're not able to tour like you want to do. So, but I haven't slowed down because the music's not the best music I've ever made in my life. Is burning a hole in my pocket right now. So, Leave the Light On, which comes out tonight at midnight, will be the first of those.
Nice. Finally getting back to it after, like you said, it's been a weird year where you can't really tour. What is releasing music and hyping music look like? So this definitely gave you a chance to see and navigate how the world's going. And then hopefully with things possibly opening up soon, also gives you a little bit of material for once you finally can hit that stage again.
Yeah, 100%.
Sick. So let's dive a little bit into this new track here. This Leave the Light On, which drops the day after we record this. This is going to interview released next week, but the song, by the time you seeing this, the song is out right now. You should go and listen to it. So Illy, take us a little bit behind this new track.
Well, listen, so Leave the Light On is a really introspective one. It's a really personal song for me. It's all about my journey as like a human being in this crazy world. I ran away from home at 16 years old, and then I've kind of been on this like, Forrest Gump movie type of like adventure ever since then, for 20 some odd years since then. So I wanted to kind of write some of those feelings down into a song and share some of that, kind of the pain that goes with that, and some of the the adventure and the hope that comes with that. And I think it's one of my favorite and one of my best records I've ever made. In addition to it being so personal for me, I had the privilege of having some really talented artists and producers assist me with it. Kenan on piano and my boy Dan Intricate out in LA. He's actually whistling on the song, and then we like auto-tune the whistle, so it kind of becomes this like eerie kind of sound in the background. And then, of course, we got TJ on guitar. And so we've had this really like uh, cool mix of musicians kind of contributing to the record from each of their respective homes during the pandemic. So that's kind of been a fun side story of making this song as well over the last year.
Sending files back and forth from here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, all right. And you said you're trying to capture that energy of a kid who ran away from home. So now that you're releasing this song, does that mean that you finally found that feeling once again?
Yeah, the thing that I've been saying is that, like, obviously I haven't been homeless since I was 16 years old. I've had somewhere to live by all means. And I know some people have had it a lot worse than me in that regard. But this, where I am now, this is the first time I've had a home, like a backyard I can go to, and like somewhere that's really permanent that I feel like landlord can't just like boot me out, since then. So it's definitely been an emotional experience for me, because I wrote the song before I bought where I am now, which is my first home. But it was definitely about, like, I had met my wife and I was finding some like safety in the world and some permanence, and I had found my place and everything, and my company was successful. So even though I didn't have my home yet, it felt like I had like found that safe and security, And so that's really what the song was about when I wrote it. But then now that by the time it's come out, I actually have a home. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this is the song of like somebody who ran away from home and then like put in the work and like went to war and then eventually kind of found their way back again.
Okay, so it's not just the physical home, it's also the mental home, that comfort feeling of home with the wifey, the pooch, and just being able to know that you're providing for yourself, which is pretty damn hype.
Listen, it's for me, where I'm at with my music is I'm trying to really tell my story in a meaningful way. When I was a bit younger, and I'm not too old yet, as you can see, the grays haven't kicked in all the way yet, but I was a little bit more of a trend chaser, and that I would have fun hopping on like whatever like the hot trend was in music, and just playing with the toys. Like, oh, this is what people are doing. Then let me put my spin on that. But recently, I feel like the value that I can bring as an artist is to tell my story in a more personal way. And I think that brings a vulnerability and a potency to the music that maybe my older stuff didn't have. And that's really, I think, what this record's about. It's about like sharing like what it actually feels like to be me, And I think when you listen, you get a little bit more of a sense of what it's like up here in the madness of my brain. And it's a little bit sad, but not too sad. And it's a little bit hopeful, but it's not corny. And I think that's kind of like, the universe where I'm most comfortable, somewhere between those two vibes,
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a point to not overdoing it, but at the same time, you're trying to capture some powerful emotions.
It's this is the stuff that you talk to a therapist about, and I've never been to therapy yet, so y'all get to listen to it right now. That's what it is.
Hey man, if it works, right? If it works, it might even be cheaper.
It feels good, man. It feels good. It feels good to say. That's what I always tell my friends when we're talking about songwriting is if you want to make a record that matters, you got to write about the stuff that keeps you up at night. Because if you're writing about anything else, people already know. People already know that, like, you know what I mean? That the music feels good and that the sun is bright. These are things people already know. It doesn't mean you can't make great records, but if you really want to make a record that matters, I think you got to write about the stuff that, like, when you're lying there and you like smoke too much weed or whatever, and you're lying in bed, what are you thinking about? What's the stuff that occurs to you in that moment? And so I've been putting my money where my mouth is a little bit more on that and writing about that stuff.
That's it. And like you said, it helps to introduce the listener a little bit more to you. And like you also said, is it helps you to present yourself a little bit more. Because like we said, we've already had songs about so many different things, and you can continue to try and capture other vibes for so long. But music is supposed to help us through our emotions, and it can be tough to be vulnerable, but once you finally take that plunge, it can also help unlock a lot of things.
It's freeing, man. Listen, this is how I think about it. Is like, so tonight at midnight, when the song comes out, it's called "Leave the Light On," and then 7 days from now is the album. It's sort of my last number of singles, "Leave the Light On," and there's one more song that's unreleased that's also on there. And if it doesn't do commercially well, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. You never know where it's going to fall. Like everyone's got their range. Some of your stuff kind of pops up here, and some of it kind of slides more the line of the radar. And if you make something that is purely trend based, and it slides under the radar, what do you have left to fall back on? You made a song for, the masses, and the masses didn't respond. What do you got left? So for me, I think about it like this. If I make music about me and I express myself in a really like honest and emotional way, then I improve as a person. I process something. I get to experience that and communicate that to the people I care about. And it's a freeing and healthy way to approach, I think, the things that I think about. And now, if it doesn't pop, if it doesn't blow up, and the world doesn't freak out about it, I have something great to fall back on. That song is me in audio form. That song is real. It doesn't matter that it wasn't commercially successful. I have something that I'm glad it came out. I'm glad I put it together. And so I think, again, as I kind of like mature in my musical career, I want my art to be less predicated on it being commercially successful. For me to feel happy about it, I want to feel happy about it because it was a meaningful piece of art. That's kind of my approach now, And so, and by the way, I hope it does do really, really well, and I hope it plays, and I hope everyone goes and checks it. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to feel really great about it.
Well, and that's it. It'd be awesome if it does, but even if it helps influence a few other people who also maybe have a damaged feeling of home, who are still trying to find that home, then that makes it just that much more valuable.
Listen, that's what it's about. It's like, whether you're getting, 30 streams or 30,000 streams or 3 million streams. If you ask Drake or you ask, your cousin Jake, anybody in between, it's going to be the messages from the people who heard it and went, oh man, like I had a similar experience and that really resonated for me. That's what you remember. Like, I have no idea what my stream numbers of my songs are. I have a sense of which ones are more successful compared to other ones, but I don't keep track of what the streams are. But I could tell you a lot of those messages that I get because that means something to me. It means something to me when someone goes, I heard this, it connected. I kept listening to it ever since or whatever. And it's like that, that's why I do this. I do this to make me feel better, to make other people feel better, and have some fun along the way.
And that's part of the magic of it, right? It's when you get that one message where that person's like, you helped me through some really dark times, or it's like, it doesn't matter how many records you sold. If you possibly helped influence one life to try and chase their dreams or to live their life more fully to themselves, my goodness, like that's priceless.
That's me. I really do try to like share that kind of positive outlook and try to, always be realistic about it. I try not to approach things with rose-colored glasses, especially in this music industry. There's too many people willing to just sell you the dream of like fame and fortune about how awesome it all is. And I'm not that guy. But at the same time, I do try to talk about like how somebody can make art in a sustainable way and how not to have your heart broken if the record doesn't blow up commercially, to my younger musician friends. And then for people who are just listening to my music who aren't musicians, well, then, it's about that transparent and vulnerable, willingness to share yourself. And that's how I am as a person, when I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm that guy who's like, willing to talk about whatever. And so I like to bring that in my music,
Awesome. That's it. You're trying to inspire numerous people. And like you said, from whether it's Drake to your cousin Jake, baby, you never know who's going to take this song and internalize it. And my goodness, do I love that line. When I saw it in a Heavy Ox advertisement, I popped so hard. Oh my goodness. And I mean, I personally know that all of your tracks happen to have a very strong visual identity as well. So what sort of visual world are we building here for Leave the Light On? Is there a music video coming our way, lyric video? What's going down?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with like a lot of artists, because of what's going on, the shooting of like really dynamic music videos is tough right now. And as you know, and probably the listeners don't, I run a video company called lyricvids.com. We make animated videos and lyric videos. And so the award-winning team here at lyricvids.com made me a video for Leave the Light On, produced by Jessica and Chris, two talented animators here at the company. And so, the vibe of this one is a little bit more abstract. It's a little bit more into like vibe of the music, showing like lights being left on in the distance and, trying to kind of paint that picture a little bit. It's a really, really cool visual, unlike any of the other stuff that I've put out, which is makes a lot of sense because the record itself is pretty different from other stuff that I put out as well. What with like acoustic guitar and kind of whistling being the two primary instruments. So I think it's a different whole kind of look and feel for me on this one, which this whole album is kind of like that. So, in 7 days when the album drops, it's got Slow Down, which is like classic, like early 2000s R&B. It's got Novocaine, which is like my shot at classic rock. Bulletproof is kind of some sad singer-songwritery stuff. The Bottom Line is kind of like Liddy, like almost like the Weekend energy in the production. And so it's really an eclectic, different mix of, my favorite things. And so this song, we fully rounding it out with something kind of different from me with Leave the Light On. And then the last song that isn't out that will be on this collection of tracks that's dropping in a week's time is a song called The Hard Way featuring Dio Gibson. Has Dio been on this podcast before?
Twice, actually.
Yeah, there we go. So me and Dio, we haven't made a record together in a couple of years, and so I thought it would be really fun to have him rap a verse on this song. And that one is entirely different. That one's got church organs played by my man bass guitar by my man Etienne, and he brought on his homie who's like a church organ player, and like we fully make kind of like a gospel-y vibe record on that one. And so this album is all over the place. If you come in just for old school illy raps, this ain't the one. But in saying that, there's a couple of dope rap verses kind of peppered throughout on some of the different records and some different vibes. So I'm really proud of the material, and the album, as I kind of alluded to a few times, is a collection of the songs I put out over the last year. I put out some of my favorite records ever, and right now they're kind of floating like separate little babies in the streaming ocean. And I thought, to put a ribbon around this crazy year, I'm going to put kind of all those songs on one project, put a couple of new ones that I had been saving, Leave the Light On and The Hard Way, and then kind of put that in a little bucket so that I can kind of, I don't know, man, it kind of encompasses the music that I was making around the time of COVID and right before we dive into what will be, I think a wild post-pandemic music scene, which is, I don't even know what that looks like yet. I'm excited. I don't even know what that looks like yet.
We're all going to have to adapt again. That's all I know. Just going to be ready for it when it comes, baby. Let's go.
That's it. Exactly.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm glad to hear that you're including all of your 2020 releases along with this new album. So what is the title of this new album?
It's called Hymns For The Underdog. I played a gig in Germany 2 years ago, and it's called Reeperbahn Festival, and I had a lot of fun. And I was there, drunk and stoned in the streets, and somebody handed me a pamphlet for the festival. And I open up the pamphlet, and I turn to, I don't know, let's say page 10. And I go to page 10, and I find myself in the pamphlet for the festival. And it says Illvibe. His music is Hymns For The Underdog. And I don't know who wrote that. I don't know which crazy German person wrote that. But I was like, that is amazing. What a great summary of like what I'm trying to do. And so I kind of put that in my pocket, and I said, my next time I've got a little collection of music that it's applicable to, I'd like to kind of put that title on it. So I still don't know who wrote that, but I'm happy to use it, and I'll give them the royalty share when the time comes.
Whenever they make themselves known, right?
Yeah, for real. I hope one day someone does email me and says, I was the writer who wrote Hymns For The Underdog, and I'll owe them a little something.
A little something for sure. A little respect for helping to help create this next chapter of Illy.
And they obviously understood me, and even though I had never met this person, they understood me in a way I maybe didn't understand myself. So it's a fun story, and so that's where the song title came from. And yeah, the artwork has got a painted version of me smiling and cheesing on the front of it, and just feeling good. And I'm really proud of it. The 7 songs that are on there are the best 7 songs available with my name on them. So for anybody who doesn't know me, if you're listening to this, you're like, I like this guy's style. I don't know if it's just pink hat or his big glasses, but I mess with this man. Well, this album, this 7 songs is the best record, the best songs I've ever released. And so, working backwards, there's some other great records in the mix, but these for me are the ones that, when I die, if you got to play 7 songs, these are the ones to play. And so, when I say it's 7 songs that are already out grouped together, it's not like 7 random crap songs. It's the best music of my life. It just, you know what the thing is they were going to go on a longer album. They were going to be part of some like 15, 20 track album. But because of the way the pandemic slowed things down, that will take me 2 or 3 years to finish now. And so it felt sloppy to wait a whole other year to like put those records on something. And also by then I will have lived a whole other life, you know? And so I've never made an album this short, 7 tracks, but I think, you know, we all know what happened this year. And I think it's a funny way to commemorate it. Is this short little album that kind of got stunted because I couldn't kind of continue it at the time. You know what I mean? But the quality is there. So in this case, it's quality over quantity. And I think you're going to mess with it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I've messed with all the other illy I've heard before. I love the tracks I've heard from this album so far. I'm excited for the one with Dio Gibson because, I mean, I love pretty much anything with Dio, and every time you guys have collabed, it's just pure magic. So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love it. And I mean, of course, like you say, it would take you 2, maybe 3 years, and part of that is because of other reasons like we listed before. You run a record label, and you run one of the top, maybe the top lyric video company, #1 in the goddamn world, lyricvids.com. My goodness, what a journey it's been for them. Like, you guys have been hiring like video creators and everything. Like, it was just a small studio, like what, a year and a half ago, and now you've got people everywhere.
Yeah, so 5 years ago, my business partner and my wife and visionary Jess Robert and I started lyricvids.com just because we were in the street shooting music videos like crazy. And that's hard on your body. That's hard on your soul. You know, you're out in the sun and the elements. You're running home to charge your camera gear. And it was tough. And I really enjoyed it. But it was time to get out of the street, so to speak. So we launched lyricvids.com. And it was just a little like side hustle, you know, people on the internet who need lyric videos, who need video edits or whatever can buy something from us, and we're like a trusted supplier, you know. But something happened about 2 years ago where I think digital media hit a certain spot, and our resume had kind of crescendoed up a little bit, working with a few big names, and things kind of popped for us. So in 2019, that became the primary focus over the label, and to be honest, even over my music most days, just because the business really exploded. And so in the 2 years from then to now, we've become the #1 lyric video company in the world. We have relationships with every major record label on the planet, from Netherlands to Australia to Western Europe, in Canada and America, of course. We work with the biggest DJs in Europe, the biggest trap artists in Atlanta, the biggest country singers in Nashville, and everything in between. Right now, we're working with Ray Charles, Olivia Newton-John, Paul Anka, the Violent Femmes, like lots of legacy acts. You know, last year we worked with Drake and Whitney Houston, Adam Levine. And so it really, like, you can see why it became the focus. And all of a sudden we're working with some of the biggest artists in the world. We have nearly 100 million views on YouTube. So it's really taken over in a kind of way we didn't expect. And in a lot of ways, it's what paid for this new property that we kind of moved into. And yeah, we have a team of 12 illustrators all over North America. And we've got a team of animators that are kind of working around the Ontario, Canada area right now. And we're in the middle of hiring more. So that's definitely been the focus. And what's really fun, you want to talk full circle, is the way that my music career is the kind of platform that LyricVids was able to jump off of, right? It's like I always kind of set myself up as this kind of entity who made videos and audio. And then LyricVids kind of took that and ran with it in a way that I never really could, hitting new heights and new levels. And now that LyricVids has done so well, it's paying to build me a recording studio so that I can, in fact, kind of take some more steps forward as Illvibe again. So it really is a situation where, you know, even though when I say it's not the main focus, in a lot of ways, it's empowering me to make the music I want to make, even in an even more free way, because I can build my own recording studio on the premises, and I can afford to have musicians and producers help me put together some of my dream material. And so it's a really funny adventure about how, you know, you do a thing that you thought was just a little side thing, and ultimately it ends up being the key that unlocks not only that individual thing, but the main thing you wanted to do anyways. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, LyricVids is my baby. And so when you see me, you're going to end up talking about lyric videos. It's the thing that I love. Right now we're in the middle of making some content that educates people on how to use lyric videos more effectively and how to get a return on the investment by a lyric video. And I'm really trying to be like a creative entity that pushes that medium forward, because I got some big ideas about how music used to just be audio. Now music is audio with video. And if you don't have video, you're fucked up. And it's like having a song without drums. It's like having a song without a melody if you don't have a video. So where's the drums? As soon as you hear a record, you're like, I'm listening for the drums. Did you make a song without drums? I think that's what a video is now. It's if you don't have it, your fans kind of like, I hear it, but I don't see anything. Where's the visual part of this song? And Lyric Vids is one of the companies at the forefront of that.
Well, you have to diversify yourself as an artist with your videos, and you can take those videos and make them into various pieces of content too. It just doesn't have to be on your YouTube. You can take tiny little clips and you can put it all other places. And another thing too is diversifying, like with Lyric Vids, where it wasn't the thing that you thought was going to break, but you're making sure everything has its attention and is getting the energy that it needs, so that eventually, once one of them eventually did go, it did exactly that. It helped everything else out.
I think one of the things that creative entrepreneurs aren't necessarily always great at is recognizing when one of your opportunities or one of your ideas is actually working. So a couple years ago, I tried to launch a stock company. It did not do that great. I've launched a couple of other video companies, a wedding video business, and they all made money, but they just didn't crack at a level that I would be in an interview talking about them, And so when LyricVid started moving, probably 3 years ago is when the needle first started kind of like, it's like when you're fishing and that little bob and the little bobble, whatever, starts moving in the water and you caught something on the end of your line. When I first noticed that, probably the first thing that I was kind of like proud of is that I really honored that. I saw it. Oh snap, this is working. People are responding to this in a way that they're not necessarily responding to all of my businesses and all of my ideas. I'm not going to be stubborn and try to push some other thing down the throat of consumers. I'm going to honor that it's working, that people are interested in it. And so, when I first started, I didn't think of lyric videos as being my main thing. I thought of lyric videos as being a side video from your main video, and I wanted to shoot music videos. But the consumer says differently. The people said differently. They said, oh, this is a big thing. I'm too nervous to appear on camera. Or I've got a big feature on the song who won't appear on camera. Or I already shot a music video and this is a remix. Or I'm out of money for a music video. Or it's the middle of winter and I can't shoot a music video. And then you start to realize the 99 reasons that digital media can be the main video. And, the first thing we did well here was we listened. We listened when the consumer said, yes, this is a thing we care about. We want more of these. And we invested, we hired people, and we pushed down that throat. And then we stopped shooting music videos. We kind of, so I think the lesson, if I'm to share a lesson at all for independent creatives, it's that, try and diversify, try some different things, and then listen. Because if you make sculptures and no one cares, and it's silence, radio silence, and then you do pop art and no one cares, it's radio silence. But then one day you do hats and you sell 10 hats, fucking pay attention. you know what I mean? And I sort of feel like that's what we had happen, is that it worked, and so we paid attention. And the mantra I always use is I try to honor the success. That since there is some success, I don't want to take that for granted. I don't want to just assume I'm going to have 100 more ideas that work at that level. You really want to, get behind the one that worked. And so that's really what we've been doing over the last 2 years. And part of the reason why I've slowed down in the music a little bit, so that I could cement the roots of that money tree a little bit more firmly before I moved on to some of my other ideas and whims,
Exactly. And that's one thing about it too, is as this continues to get more successful, is you continue to get more reputable and respectful editors and creators underneath your belt. That will give you more opportunities to try those different things, rather than just being like, okay, well, I'll just try 6 things at once, and oh dang, 1.5 of them are maybe doing okay. Okay, let's go for that, right? Or it's
Exactly that. And listen, it's like, I've got hobbies as well. We all need to be able to like do other things, but they don't have to take up that emotional capacity of like of the thing that you are really like, when you're really putting everything you've got into something. I think there's something to be said about that. And for me, I've really made a point of that being lyric vids, and then the offshoot of that being Heavy Ox, and the offshoot of that being my music kind of under the umbrella of Heavy Ox. And this has become my little mini media empire, and it's kind of fun to see how each of the pieces kind of washes the back of the other one. Right now, I've got a song under my belt that sounds like a music legend. There's a music legend that sounds a lot like. And I wrote it with a team of writers and producers. And as I was sitting around with my wife and some friends, like, damn, this sounds a lot like this superstar. And then we worked with that superstar. We worked with that superstar for a lyric video, a few of them. And so I'm currently building up a plan to pitch the song to that superstar. But he doesn't know I write songs, of course. He buys lyric videos from us. You know what I mean? So it is kind of fun to like to lay back in the cut and see and like look for those opportunities where you might be able to leverage a relationship to kind of like push one of those other little ideas or dreams further ahead.
And you never know what other people you're going to meet in the future where they can help to unlock something. Whereas like, oh, I do this on the side, or I have a friend or a brother or whatever it happens to be. As you continue to build relationships, that continues to help your opportunities.
100%. That's it. Is a lot of time in my wisdom of my 30s is this, man. If you want to be successful, you just got to pick a thing that you love, and don't stop doing it until you're unfuckwithable at it, until you're just like a ninja at that thing. That's the whole secret to success, And so the way I think about like songwriting and music is like, well, I'm just going to write it out because I'm committed to becoming the best songwriter I can be. And one of two things is going to happen. Either that will never click over and mean anything in like a commercial way, like where it doesn't actually kind of blossom into a thing that, the world is excited about, or it does. And if it does, I'm going to be really glad that we doubled down. And if it doesn't, and this goes back to the thing I said earlier, at least I lived in my truth. I lived in my honest truth, so that I wasn't just writing songs out of like a pursuit of fame. I'm writing records that is a pursuit of myself. And even when I'm writing with other people, if I'm doing a songwriting session with some, like whether it's, VB, the pop singer, or, a number of other songwriters, the way our songwriting sessions go is talk to me about like deep stuff. Talk to me about the stuff that you're upset about. Talk to me about the stuff that you're have anxiety about. That's what I want to write songs about. And that way, if it doesn't come out or if it doesn't blow up, I will have learned something about you at least. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I feel like with the technology growing and otherwise, a lot of fans want to know who they're listening to, who they're supporting. So Give them that piece. Let them in.
And listen, I'm excited. I'm excited to go from the digital to the physical. I cannot wait to get back on stage. I can't wait to get back on the road. I was touring with Cryptic Wisdom and King Moses up until the day they closed the U.S.-Canada border. I got back in Canada like hours before they closed the border. So I'm glad I at least got to scratch my itch right before kind of lockdown happened. But now, as we all know, it's been a minute since I've had a chance to do that. And you start to wonder like, how long is it going to be between times that they get a chance to perform? And how long is it going to be before live music feels as natural as it did the last time that we did it when we were on the road, right? I was performing at a strip club at the beginning of the pandemic thinking, I wonder if I should be doing this. I'm sure this is not okay. And then, it's funny to think that that's my last show until like maybe, 2022,
And then who knows what that first show is going to be.
Maybe another strip club in Wisconsin.
Maybe. Kick it all off where it all ended. Let's go. Oh, that's fantastic. Man. I've had a blast running through this new single, this upcoming album, what's been happening with lyric vids and Heavy Ox, all of that amazing stuff. I have one more question, my friend. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I've been ready. Born ready.
All right. This is actually a question I've started asking since our last time we've connected in 2019. So, over this period of 2 years crafting this album, the explosion of lyricvids.com, and everything else that has just been going on in your life, how has all of this helped you grow, or what has it taught you about yourself?
Wow. This is a question you've been asking everybody?
This is like, I literally write it down as the last question.
That's a good question. Damn, that's a really good question, yo. I got a million answers, but that's a really meaningful question. Well, let me tell you, I have been on a quest to discover myself over this time. And I think the thing that I learned is what makes you a good artist and what makes you the good president of a company is the same thing. What makes you a good animator and what makes you a good creative director is the same thing. What makes you a good podcaster and a good husband is the same thing. It's finding yourself, being happy as yourself, and trying to find a good cohesive balance as a person. So as you kind of find that balance as a happy individual, some people go to therapy for it, some people meditate for it. I write music to try to find that balance. As you find that kind of a happipiness in your life, that's what makes you ultimately a great artist and a great musician, because now that you found yourself, you're going to be able to communicate that. Same thing as a leader or as a head of a company. Once you find yourself and you know what matters to you, well, then all of a sudden you know where to begin each day. You know where to begin, which projects matter to you as a company, what types of projects matter to you, because all of that is based on who you are, what you want out of life, and what you're planning on doing with it. So I think I spend a lot of time thinking about that, thinking about those baseline things. Who is Anthony? That's my real name. What do I want in this world? What do I want in this life? And how do I make sure that what I'm spending my time and energy and money on every day aligns with that? And I think that's how you be a fulfilled person, and that's how you don't be a bitter person. And I think that's how you be good at whatever thing you're trying to be good at, is finding that kind of peace and connectivity with yourself and with the world around you.
My goodness, I love that answer. Becoming one with yourself and the things that are around you, letting the magic happen and not letting things knock you off course. I love it.
100%.
All right, Illvibe. Thank you so much for joining me here today for round number 3.
My absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the continued support, and thank you for being, a beacon for art and independent artists in Canada. It's a really important, piece of the pie. There's a lot of people with a perspective, and we need more people like you who amplify that perspective, and who, of course, you add your own perspective, and you're a really valuable piece on that way as well. But what you do in terms of helping amplify other people's art cannot be overstated. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.